I should have never come here. That thought clung to my mind as I stepped out of my car. The dense forest surrounding me like a living entity. The sun was already dipping below the horizon, casting elongated shadows that stretched unnaturally across the dirt path. The cabin stood before me, weathered and forgotten, deep in the woods where silence held its own weight. I had rented this place for a weekend getaway, a break from the relentless grind of city life. My friends bailed at the last moment, leaving me alone, but I told myself it would be fine. A couple of days of solitude, fresh air, and nothing but the sound of nature. That was the plan. The moment I unlocked the cabin door and stepped inside, an unsettling chill ran down my spine. Not the kind from cold air, but the kind that feels like unseen eyes are watching. The air was thick with an odd, musty scent, something between damp wood and something rotten. I shrugged it off. Old cabins smell weird. Nothing unusual. After dumping my bag on the couch, I decided to take a quick look around. The place was simple. One bedroom, a small kitchen, and a fireplace that hadn't been used in years. Dust covered most surfaces, yet the wooden floor bore faint footprints leading toward the back door. I hadn't stepped there yet. I hesitated, but eventually followed the prints. The door creaked as I pushed it open, revealing a small porch that overlooked the deep woods. Beyond the trees, the sky had turned a deep shade of purple, the first stars appearing like distant pinpricks of light. The silence was deafening, save for the occasional rustling of leaves. Then I heard it, a whisper, not the wind, not the trees shifting. It was something else, something human, yet wrong, low, breathy, and just on the edge of perception, as if spoken directly into my ear. I spun around. Nothing. I scanned the tree line, my pulse quickening. Maybe it was just my imagination. Long hours of driving, exhaustion playing tricks on me. Shaking my head, I stepped back inside, locking the door behind me. I turned on the lights, relieved as the cabin bathed in a warm glow. It felt safer now, less ominous. I made a quick dinner and sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone. But the reception was practically non-existent. Typical. I was about to put the phone away when I noticed something strange. The footprints by the back door. They were gone. I froze. I had seen them before, clear as day, but now the dust lay undisturbed, as if no one had ever walked there. A heavy feeling settled in my chest, a deep instinctual warning. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the light from outside had made them look like footprints. Maybe I had imagined them. But deep down I knew better. I didn't sleep well that night. The forest outside felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. At exactly 3:12 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something scraping against the cabin walls. Something that sounded like nails. Long, slow, deliberate. I held my breath, gripping the blanket tight around me. The sound moved from one side of the cabin to the other, circling it. And a knock. A single loud knock at the front door. I stared at the wooden door, my heart hammering in my chest. Who the hell knocks on a cabin door in the middle of the night? And why did it sound like they already knew I was awake? The knock echoed through the cabin like a gunshot in the silence. My breath hitched in my throat. I sat frozen in bed, my ears straining for any sound, any hint of movement outside. My phone was useless. No signal, no way to call for help. The knock didn't come again, but the silence that followed felt even worse. I forced myself to move. my legs unsteady as I slipped out of bed and grabbed the flashlight from my bag. Slowly, I crept toward the door, my fingers hesitating just above the lock. Then something whispered my name, right outside the door. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It was distorted, stretched, as if someone were trying to imitate a human voice but failing miserably. I stumbled back, my pulse hammering. Number, no, 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 I wasn't imagining this. Someone or something was outside. The doorknob rattled. I nearly dropped the flashlight. My instincts screamed at me to run, to hide, but where? The cabin was small, and the only other exit was the back door, which led straight into the woods. I wasn't about to step outside in the middle of the night with whatever this was lurking nearby. Then, as suddenly as it had started, the rattling stopped. I held my breath. A long, agonizing moment passed. Then another. I exhaled shakily, backing away from the door. Maybe, just maybe, it was over. Maybe I had imagined the voice. Maybe the wind had shaken the knob. I turned around, and I saw the shadow. It stretched across the wooden floor, long and unnatural, cast by something standing right outside my window. The flashlight slipped from my grasp, rolling across the floor with a dull thud. I wanted to run, to scream, but I was paralyzed by pure, overwhelming terror. The shadow didn't move. It just loomed there, impossibly tall, its edges shifting slightly, as if it weren't bound by the same rules as normal shadows. And then, the whisper came again. This time, from inside the room. I spun around, my back pressing against the cold wooden wall. There was no one there, no one visible. The cabin lights flickered. A deep, suffocating dread wrapped around me like a thick fog. I reached for the flashlight with trembling fingers, gripping it like a lifeline. The air had changed. It felt thicker, heavier, charged with something unseen. The shadow by the window shifted. Slowly, deliberately. I couldn't see its source. There was nothing standing outside, just the shadow. And then, the worst part. It moved away from the window, toward the back door. I heard the wooden boards creak. Something was walking outside. Each step was agonizingly slow, purposeful, like it wanted me to hear, like it was letting me know it was still there. I backed into the bedroom, shutting the door and locking it behind me. My breathing was ragged, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't normal. This wasn't some wild animal or a lost hiker. This was something else. I climbed onto the bed, pressing my back against the wall, the flashlight shaking in my grip. Then the scratching started again. Only this time, it wasn't at the walls. It was coming from inside the closet. I squeezed my eyes shut. I hadn't even checked the closet when I arrived. Had something been in there the whole time? My mind raced through every possibility, but nothing made sense. Then, the closet door creaked open. Not fast, not violently. Just slowly, as if whatever was inside wanted me to see it. I couldn't breathe. I aimed the flashlight at the opening. The beam flickered, but in that brief moment I saw something. A hand, pale, thin, fingers too long, curled around the edge of the door. I didn't wait to see the rest. I bolted. I yanked open the bedroom door, sprinting into the main room, my mind screaming at me to get out, get out, get out. But as soon as I reached the front door, I skidded to a stop. The door was wide open, and the forest beyond was completely black. No moon, no stars. Just an endless, suffocating darkness, stretching out as if the world beyond the cabin had ceased to exist. And in that darkness, I saw movement. Something was waiting for me. And it was smiling. I shouldn't have looked. The moment my eyes locked onto that thing, standing in the darkness outside, I felt something inside me break. Like a primal instinct screaming at me that I had just done something irreversibly wrong. It was smiling, not a normal smile. Too wide, too many teeth. Its face was barely visible in the pitch-black void beyond the open door. But what I could see was wrong. Stretched, distorted, unnatural. The grin curled at the edges, as if it wasn't meant for a human face. I stumbled backward, my body moving before my mind could catch up. The door slammed shut on its own. The cabin shook. The walls groaned like the wood itself was in pain. Then, the whisper started again. This time, they were inside the cabin. They slithered through the air, low and guttural, overlapping in a dozen voices speaking at once. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable, mocking, taunting. I turned, scanning the room frantically. I was alone, or at least I should have been. Then the lights flickered, and for half a second I saw it. It was inside the cabin, standing inches away from me. My scream caught in my throat. The lights flashed again, and it was gone. But I could still feel it, the cold presence pressing against my skin, watching, waiting. I bolted for the kitchen, my mind racing for any kind of escape. The windows, maybe I could break one and run. But the moment I reached the counter, my blood ran cold. The kitchen window wasn't reflecting the inside of the cabin. It was reflecting something else, something watching me from behind. I turned slowly, every muscle in my body screaming in protest. The thing was standing in the doorway. Its head was tilted, its face still twisted in that impossible smile. Its eyes were black holes, empty voids that seemed to stretch into nothingness. And then it moved. Not by walking, not by shifting. It just snapped closer in an instant, like reality had skipped a frame. I gasped, stumbling back, knocking over a chair. My vision blurred with panic. My body screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't work. And then it spoke. Not in words, not in a language I could understand. It spoke directly into my head, inside my skull. A flood of images, nightmares, horrors, glimpses of places I had never seen but somehow knew. A cabin in the woods, identical to this one, but burning. A forest of twisted bodies, hanging from trees without faces. A black door standing alone in the middle of an empty void, something scratching at the other side. And then a reflection. My reflection. But it wasn't me. It grinned, its lips stretching far too wide. And then it whispered something in my own voice. "You've been here before." My knees buckled. I hit the floor hard, gasping for air. My vision swam, my head pounding, with a pressure that felt like something was trying to push its way in. I squeezed my eyes shut. This isn't real. This isn't real. The whispers grew louder. The cabin felt smaller. The walls were closing in. I forced myself to move, crawling toward the front door, my fingers fumbling with the handle. Locked. I never locked it. The thing behind me laughed. A slow, dragging sound, like a voice unused to foaming laughter. "You can't leave," it whispered, inches from my ear. Cold breath against my skin. I turned, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, but I could still feel it. Watching, waiting. The walls trembled. The cabin itself felt wrong, like it wasn't part of this world anymore. The air was thick with something unseen, something ancient. And then a knock. Not from the front door, from inside the bedroom closet. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I didn't move. I couldn't. And then, in the silence, the voice came again. "Let me in." The bedroom door slammed shut on its own. I was trapped, and I wasn't alone. The closet door knocked again. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I was frozen, my body locked in place, as if the very air around me had thickened, holding me down like invisible chains. My heart pounded so loudly, I swore the thing in the closet could hear it. And then the voice came again. Let me in. It wasn't a request. It was a command. I stumbled backward, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. My body screamed at me to run. But where? The front door was locked. The window showed something that wasn't this world. The walls were closing in, pulsing like they were breathing. The closet door creaked. The knob turned on its own. I had seconds, no less than that. I made a choice. With every ounce of strength, I lunged for the front door, clawing at the handle. It wouldn't budge. My fingers fumbled, yanking, pulling, slamming my shoulder against it. Behind me, the closet door burst open. I didn't look. I couldn't look. I heard it moving, though. A wet, dragging sound, like something that had never needed to walk before, was trying to figure it out. Closer, closer. I rammed my body against the door one last time. It flew open. Cold night air hit me like a slap. I stumbled forward, nearly falling onto the wooden porch. Move, move, move. I didn't think. I ran. The trees were endless. Shadows stretched unnaturally in the moonlight. The forest didn't look the same. I knew this path. I had walked it before. But now it twisted, stretching in impossible ways, looping in directions that defied reality. A deep, guttural laugh echoed behind me. It was closer. My legs burned. My lungs felt like they would burst. But I didn't stop. The trees blurred past, the path shifting beneath my feet. I wasn't getting anywhere. I risked a glance back. I shouldn't have. It wasn't chasing me in the way a person would. It was gliding, moving in jagged, unnatural jerks, its body twitching in ways that bones shouldn't allow. Its eyes, if they could even be called that, were locked on me, unblinking. And then it spoke again. You never left. I tripped. The ground swallowed me. Not in the way dirt should, not in the way a fall works. I fell through the ground. The forest melted away, replaced by something black and endless. I was weightless, plummeting through nothingness, my screams echoing into infinity. Then, impact. I hit the floor of the cabin. I was back. No, this isn't possible. I scrambled to my feet. The door was open. The forest was outside, but it was wrong, distorted. I was trapped. A whisper slithered through the air. You can't escape what you are. And then I saw it. The mirror by the door, and in it, my reflection was smiling, not me. The thing. Its lips stretched too wide. Its eyes black voids, hungry. And slowly, agonizingly, it lifted its hand. And waved. My stomach twisted. I wasn't in my body anymore. I was in the mirror. Trapped. And as I watched in horror, the thing wearing my face turned away from the mirror, walked out the front door, and left me behind. Forever.